Hello, and welcome to Simpvp Histories, Architecture Edition. Simpvp is a survival Minecraft server which has existed on the same map since 2011. Over the course of 8 years, the server has developed a unique history. Come explore the various chapters of that history in these episodes of The Complete History of Simpvp.
I don't know why. We may not be perfect, but heaven knows we try. But all around, even our old friends put us down. Let's drop the big one and see what happens.
Aargaman, legal notice. Now, when it comes to building style on Simpvp, there is only a short list of players who can claim that they have influenced the overall architecture of Simpvp. One of them is Pippinger and his many incarnations. Perhaps Daka, Ostrich, and Clipchip as well may find themselves on that list. However, there is one person I think that everyone can agree also should be on that list, and that is the old player, Miniwimi. Now, strangely enough, even though Miniwimi has built many bases and based with many people, he doesn't even have a dedicated page on the Simpvp Wiki. Jeez, I hope someone got fired for that blunder. Well, Mini, consider this video about you a replacement for your lack of a page on the wiki. Well, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, Miniwimi's first listed build is known as Laketown, or alternatively, Esgaroth. It is listed as destroyed and was founded in April of 2014. The town was comprised out of wooden buildings that resemble those of the medieval era. This is a common motif with most of Miniwimi's architecture. It looks as if it is from the medieval era or the Renaissance. On initial glance, many of Miniwimi's builds may seem like they are slightly influenced by Imperial architecture on Simpvp, but this is far from the case. This is only true insofar as he uses stone bricks in some of his castle designs. However, if you notice, in all of his builds there's a mixture of stone bases for buildings and wooden tops or smaller buildings. Imperial architecture, alternatively, is all about stone, gray edifices. Even at his first base, Esgaroth, it is abundantly clear that Miniwimi's building style is wholly his own. Two other players accompanied Mini at Laketown, CrackyJoe and Infamous, both players that should be well known to the majority of modern-day Simpvp players. Moving on to 2015, we come to a base that I personally have had the honor of touring. This base is of course the Inactive Base Simpvp. On an outcropping of rock sticking out into an ocean lies an edifice of a massive castle, its base stone brick, and its buildings made out of wood. Its details are highly intricate. This is the trademark in the Miniwimi architectural style. In the ocean below lie other builds. Glass domes that hold back water from the outside house rooms with portals that take you to other places. On the wiki page for Simpvp, Miniwimi's name is not mentioned. However, I know personally because I went to the base myself that he was there. Pippinger knows because he was there also, under the name of Senator Bix, alongside Def Pa and Tuffy9 as members of Simpvp as a base. The base Simpvp was under the control of the group Nameless at the time, which ties into one of my other videos about the First Great War of Simpvp, which resulted in the implementation of Rule 3. However, that's a story that I already made a video about. Moving on to late 2015, we see a strange divergence from the usual style of Miniwimi architecture. The Blue Orchid cult had a capital in late 2015, which had an architecture that was influenced by many sources. These influences came mainly from 3 sources. Number 1 was Simpvp and Miniwimi himself. Number 2 was Gregoria, the former capital of Nameless, the clan. Also, influence from imperial architecture can be seen through Castle Caladan to Cathedral to Swamp Castle, and finally down to the capital itself. It's a long line, and it's very diluted, but it's there in the build's DNA somewhere. The Blue Orchid cult capital was quite impressive, with its medieval architecture style, leaning in on certain aspects of imperial architecture, and including dark roofs made out of netherrack for all of its builds. It gave off a very ominous feel to it. Unfortunately, soon after its construction, members from Trump City discovered the base and subsequently griefed it. This ended, effectively, the Blue Orchid cult on Simpvp. In addition to being partially inspiration for the BOC capital, Simpvp also influenced other builds on the server later in history. One was Aargaman. Aargaman is a very unique base in Simpvp history. Its construction was started in January of 2016, during the period of conflict on the server. It was built by Pippinger, Sir Tashington, Porkington, and if that's how you pronounce it, EA0, Okay, whatever. It was built by those 4 people. However, building and construction at Aargaman was always slow, and eventually ceased to a halt until 2018 when it was reclaimed by the League and connected to the Nether Railway. It is now a fully public base. Now, it's been a while since I've been there, so I can't vouch for this in the current day. Please comment down below as to whether or not it's true. But when I was there in 2018, it was still fully intact and ungriefed. Like I was saying, in spite of Miniwimi no longer taking part in these builds, Aargaman still harkens back to his desire to create medieval architecture on Simpvp. Although it is heavily influenced by imperial architecture, as there being 2 incarnations of Pippinger working on its construction, it still holds true to the old styles of Miniwimi back in the day. It has 2 sets of walls, both medieval in nature, as opposed to what you would find in an imperial type build. In between its walls lie small builds which utilize wood in their construction, another signal that this is clearly not imperial architecture that we are dealing with here. Aargaman went on to influence heavily Grassel, which was founded in December of 2017, a base which was founded to help out new players and integrate them into the community of Simpvp. Now, if we go all the way back up to before Simpvp was even constructed, there was another player on Simpvp who was also influenced by a medieval style of architecture, and that player, almost paradoxically, was Dakadok. Yes, the player who enjoyed building hyper-realistic, Mass Effect-inspired builds on Simpvp also enjoyed Tolkien-esque architecture. Directly inspired by Tolkien, Dakadok, later, after the griefing of Nosastra, created the Shire. Its building style was clearly very reminiscent of that of Simpvp. Not the foundation, or any of the stone brick aspects of the build, but if you compare the top portion of Simpvp with the build at the Shire, you will definitely see the similarities. The Shire was co-inhabited by a cast of unknown mysterious characters, including Synthora Salb 1337, one of Dakadok's known IRL friends. The others, Karmok, Desert Blade, the Banana Troll, and Max are presumed to be simply Dakadok's other IRL friends. At least, if you'll allow me to make that presumption. The half-finished Erebor also takes hints from the construction style of Miniwimi, in the fact that it is also inspired by fantasy medieval type architecture. Moving on to the more recent 2018, we have the very interesting Isengard build, which includes an extremely interesting and unique castle build, which is circular in nature. Personally, I believe this build to be much more architecturally connected to other builds on the server and in the server's history than Pippinger would like to point out. For one, Isengard has Morlock as a main member. Yes, Morlock from episode 1 of this mini-series, who enjoyed building lots of castles. And what are we talking about here? A build with a castle, which is oddly reminiscent of some of Morlock's other builds. Also, I could swear that there is at least some Imperial architecture influence in this build. At least there's a stronger case of making that connection than the connection with Dakadok's other older builds. But I can see it making sense that this is listed alongside Dakadok's other medieval-style builds, as Dakadok was the founder of Isengard. Isengard is still active, and it would be interesting to keep your eyes on this build to see what it evolves into the future. Well, regardless of what your opinion is, from Isengard, we can clearly see the influence and transition onto Berg Hohenstein in January of 2019. A build extremely influenced by real-life medieval architecture. Daka bases here with his friend Cinthoris Ald 1337. Well, that has been it for today. I hope you've enjoyed looking at medieval architecture on Simpvp. I will see you next time, and goodbye.